This is the North End. This is the North End.
Because the problem is that for another time we show you that we are not a team. We are 11 players that go into the pitch, and I see selfish players. I see players that don't want to help each other, don't put the heart.
Guys, it's Paul from the North End YouTube channel. Antonio Conte kicking us off with is basically a mirror of all our production shows when I talk to our crew about the effort and the amount of cohesive responsibility of the North End crew. I do it in a weird Italian accent as well. It's very bizarre. I don't know how Conte heard about it, but what I do here, it's something I have to stop doing. I think culturally it's probably inappropriate. I'm going to kick us off with join us, one of my friends and colleagues and teammates, who's making a fun face, Brian Ireland. There he is, Brian Ireland.
Fuck's sakes, Paul.
No, look at him.
Bloody hell, mate.
Look at him.
Oh man, you got to add to the misery, right?
That's not a chirp. It's just if we're going to talk about a press conference, we might as well start with the press conference. You know, we can't avoid talking about what he said.
It was box office, Paul. It was. I actually enjoyed it, and of course, we'll get into why. I thought it was brilliant. I thought it was. It's super entertaining, even though it is the sad end of our club in this particular. Season. It was entertaining. I mean, if I was one of you guys, I would have been just like, oh my god, this is amazing. And I'm sure
I'm not relishing the end of it at all. I just find the whole thing to be bizarre and slightly entertaining, but like mostly because he's deliberately doing this pantomime thing that he's doing right now. And I don't know,
it's an Antonio Conte, right? So
he's being very dramatic. He's acting like David Convery trying to get a little birthday love on his birthday, you know what I'm saying? David Convery, you know what I'm talking about.
I mean, I don't.
You have a flair for the dramatic, you know what I'm saying.
Well, yes.
How are you?
I'm good. I'm very interested to hear from Brian regarding the Conte Spurs situation. He is box office, so yeah.
Can I interest you in an update on the weather in California? JP California coming to us live from somewhere sunny.
It's pouring rain.
Rainy.
It's pouring rain. It's absolutely been pouring rain.
I love that your weather's been shit for the last 3 weeks.
God, it's been terrible. But as football fans go, I am super over the moon happy. Like whether it's watching Spurs implode in this giant 17-car pileup.
Spurs implode in fourth place. I love it. JP.
Hey, do you really think you'll still be in fourth at the end of the season?
No, I don't. But that's
okay.
That's another.
But I'm in a good mood, even if the weather is not. I'm happy, not just for Spurs, but it's a good time.
Whoa.
Yes,
I'm
a little petty.
We'll get into it shortly, but to say that Spurs won't finish fourth, that's an interesting comment. We'll talk about that in a second. They absolutely could finish in fourth with a number of different things happening.
They could,
yeah.
But their form is just. It's
they got a lot going on, man. They got a lot going on, and we'll hear about it. I imagine probably now. I don't know. You tell us, Paul.
But you know what? No one ever asked.
Before we get to it,
doing?
Before we get to it, I'm gonna give our friend Luke a moment to swallow the bag of Maltesers he's wolfing down his face, just so he can appear slightly professional on screen
for the first time. Who knows how long?
There he is. It's a giant
cereal. And thank God I'm back because this has been going fucking downhill. Look at the state of all of you. Yeah. Brian's got 15 clocks. He thinks it's Alice in Wonderland.
I'm trying to figure out what time it is, mate.
JP, what the heck is wrong with those headphones? Could they get any bigger? Have you got no hearing whatsoever?
Luke Connolly, everybody. Welcome back to the show.
Bye, Connolly.
Coming in.
Before he got to you.
This is a timeout. The cereal he's eating right now is clearly too sugary. He's too worked up.
He's like
take a minute. Take a beat. He's a crazy man.
I was actually going to say, Paul, you look great, but
thanks, buddy. How are you? Where are you at right now? You're always globetrotting. What part of the planet are you currently holed up in? Running from the
globetrotting. I'm just wanted for multiple things.
Yeah.
I'm in New York.
Ooh.
I'm in Brooklyn. Yeah, a lot of Italians. It's fun, interesting.
Hey,
great area. New York. club.
Yeah,
they're
I'm in
loving fun.
Williamsburg actually. It's great. I'm glad I'm in Brooklyn actually. I don't fancy Manhattan. I don't know. It's too soulless. But there we go.
I like that a guy who can't afford Manhattan rent has a very positive outlook on. I'm glad I'm not in Manhattan.
Are you joking? If you can afford Williamsburg, you can afford Manhattan. Williamsburg is insanely expensive. I pay
Isn't
almost
that like
$1,900 for a room.
It's like the rich hipster capital of the world, isn't
Yeah.
it? Like
Oh yeah,
Williamsburg.
It's
my room
perfect
is
for Luke.
$1,900 a month just for the room.
Oh my goodness.
Jesus.
Okay,
Yeah,
well,
yeah.
enjoy your cereal.
Yeah, well, that's all I got.
Top
what he's
ramen
living
and
off of
cereal
right
for
now
the
for
next
sure.
Amazing.
Boys,
All
it's great to be back. I have
right.
missed it, and it's not for a lack of want. So, but yeah, let's get into it. Love it.
I think we're just going to go straight into the one topic that seems to be dominating for good reason, because there is supposedly a ticking clock on a decision on Conte's future at Spurs. The deadline is
Nice, bro.
Wednesday. This is Tuesday night here in North America. We are expecting a deadline solution or decision of some kind from Spurs tomorrow on Wednesday. Antonio Conte obviously making some headlines because he decided to just air a lot of things at a press conference after watching his Spurs blow a 3-1 lead. Brian, that could not have been fun for you as a day, as a moment, but maybe not as painful a press conference, because I've heard rumblings that some of the fan base are like, yes, thank you for saying the truth.
I'm one of them, to be honest. I mean, I've mixed emotions. I liked the press conference, and I also think he hasn't taken responsibility for his own downfall. So it's both of those can be true at the same time. I think the nice thing about this press conference is I forgot about the coming back from 3-1 down to tie us 3-3. I completely forgot about it because I was even like, I was so pissed off about that in the moment, and then the next day it was wiped away because of this. So I think he's correct in what he's talking about the club. This is why everybody talks about us being Spursy. This is the reason why sadly we have the reputation of being bottlers. We have a manager at the top, or a chairman at the top of the club who is not a winner. He doesn't care about winning. He cares about making money, and that is the culture in the club, and that's been the culture since he's been with us. One trophy in 23 years or 22 years since he's been at the club is embarrassing, and as you guys know, and you'll remind me on a regular basis, and everybody else does, that it's kind of pathetic for a club like Spurs to be in that situation. And so he's just pointing it out. He's pointing out what most of us know. Most honest Spurs fans wouldn't get mad at this. They get mad at the fact that he's not taking any responsibility for what we're watching on the pitch, which is a massive problem and a reason why we went from 3-1 up to 3-3 because of his poor decision-making in game. And so he needs to be called out for that. But when it comes to talking about what the club's status is in the game of football at the moment, he's absolutely spot on.
Okay, can I just ask a couple questions here? Because everybody watched the press conference, everybody saw what he said, and then it came out reports afterwards that he was referring to the players and not the club. It sounded like he was talking about the club.
Both. He was talking about both. He called it. He said the 11 players on the pitch who aren't fighting for me. And at the very last sentence that he said in the press conference was 20 years, same owner, no trophies. And he finished the press conference with that. I mean, it doesn't get any more calling out the club than that. So it was both. He was calling out the players because they were weak, and they have been weak. And there's a number of them that have still been with the club since Poch was here. So I think there's about 8 or 9 of them, and they're a core of the team, and a lot of them are lazy, and a lot of them are whinging when they get asked to work too hard. And that it's the same thing that happened with Mourinho. It's the same thing that happened with Poch. All of them. It's probably 2 or 3 of the exact same players who are doing this, and it seems to be something ingrained in the club, and it needs to be called out, and hopefully something changes because of what he's done here. I doubt it will, because owners are greedy fuckers, and they don't get about
Didn't
football,
he technically, just a point of correction, end the actual press conference by dropping the mic and saying Conte out, and then kicking the table?
That would have been brilliant. I would have clapped. I actually personally clapped after I watched the first time from beginning to end. I was like,
but can I just bring up a point here, right? And I separate to the Tottenham thing, right? Is this not just indicative of Conte in the last 5, 6, 7, 8 years? He does this all the time. Yeah. Like, absolutely. I don't know. For me, like, he when he came in, Bri, you said he's an elite manager because he's won trophies. I know you and I were chatting about this, and it's a very valid point. I understand that. But I think in the modern day, so much of being an elite manager, like, I mean, the actual elite, is man management. And I've never felt that Conte ever had that ability. He didn't have it at Chelsea. He didn't have it at Inter. He just seems to have one ish season, maybe 1.5, and then it doesn't go his way, and he just throws his toys out the pram. I just find him
that's
petulant.
exactly true, though.
It's 100% true that he does that, and I think that's something that if you're the ownership in Spurs situation should know and should have not have appointed him in the first place if they weren't going to give him the money which he in every club he's been at has been given in order to win trophies. He's coming to Spurs, and it's a club that's known not to do that. So he knew what he was getting himself into. So he's absolutely responsible for that. And the club knew what they were getting themselves into, and they're responsible for that. And it was never going to work. As much as we all wanted it to, because he is a serial winner and he's won wherever he's gone until now, which is, very Spursy, as many people will say. That's the reality is it was a bad appointment, and it's poor management from the top, and it was poor from him to not recognize that he is going to either have to sacrifice over a longer period of time and actually learn how to make players better and improve the squad and improve players that he's got, which is what you said, Luke, and I agree. Good managers do these days is they're able to take players that are, and he did do that last season, to be fair. I think, we won 10 of our last 14 games to get into the Champions League, but that dies, that aggressive yelling at the team, really just having that old school thing. It dies these days. It doesn't work with younger players. And that's what he's still doing. And I think that it's just gotten lost.
But he expects that all the time, though, right? Because when it works for him, his teams are the best. When he went to Chelsea,
and they're really entertaining too.
Everybody bought in. He was playing 3-5-2. It was a full buy-in. Chelsea won the league, and he had everyone singing from the same hymn sheet. And then when it goes wrong, it goes catastrophic.
Point of clarity on that, though, he did take a misfiring Chelsea team that had won a title, had a terrible season under Jose Mourinho, and then brought them back to the title-winning team.
Still had a very good squad
in the Premier League. Which is
my point is, he basically didn't build a squad. He didn't inherit a.
He didn't have to do any of that. Yeah,
it's not easy to win a Premier League title, especially.
Am I saying it was easy? I'm just saying when you go to a Spurs team, and a lot of the situation with Conte, when you look at where he's been and where he's been successful, he didn't inherit a shit team. He actually inherits really good teams that are.
And to be fair to Spurs,
guaranteed to win a title, but he brings them over the line. But
to be fair to Spurs aren't the greatest team. They're just a bunch of different managers' teams, right? They're like it's like 4 different managers in the last 5 seasons, and it's a mix of all of those.
I think that's the more interesting part of this conversation. Is I wouldn't spend any more time talking about Conte. Like Conte's gone. He's not going to be.
That's the question I have. Is he fired tomorrow, or is Levy too cheap to fire him, knowing he's gone after 6 months?
He's gone.
6 weeks.
Gone. So Levy's so cheap that he'll absolutely try to find somebody to come in and make sure we get Champions League money. And that's going to be the thing that's going to motivate him more, because it's what, 40 million compared to the 5 million he'd have to pay out for Conte.
Hold on a second. I'm with Paul. So is he definitely gone? Like, is it
not official? It's not been announced, but
I'm saying, like, in the next couple of days. And was that press conference his way of saying, "Get me the fuck out of here"? Like,
I think it was that. Yeah, I think 100%. I think it's that, and he's protecting himself, his own brand, right?
Yeah.
He wants to get another job. He wants to go somewhere, and he doesn't want to be the one that failed at Spurs again. Another manager to fail at Spurs, which he would be, and he needs to take responsibility for that. But he's not going to publicly say that I made mistakes. I mean, he did. He said it like once, like slightly said, I have to. I'm a manager. I get paid. I got to do my job. Players got to do. He sort of said that, but it wasn't.
So I think the point I'm trying to make, quite frankly, is like, again, I'm going to go to it. For me, it's not about Conte. Like, Conte's time is done, but the club is still there. The issues that have caused 4 out of the last 5 years being different managers or whatever, like whatever the.
That's Levy. That's what I was saying.
If it's exclusively this guy. And like, you'll know better. I would be surprised if it can be all down to one top tier.
So this is
it is
a really. But I don't. But you say it is. But how? Like how?
I'm going to explain it to you.
How can no? Yeah, but just okay. So all I'm thinking is, how can one guy, no matter how much he might want to kind of put himself into situations, how can he continuously butcher 20, 23, 24 players that are, let's be honest, Bright, you've not been cheap. You spent a lot of money and you've brought in some really, really, well, maybe
more excited in the preseason, Brian, and so we're a lot of Spurs fans. So we're
excited until halfway through the seasons. Most of those players didn't even get a look in. Ned Spence doesn't play. Basuma barely played. These are players that we all were excited about.
Totally.
So through the season, those were players bought by Levy, not by Paratici and by Conte. So you have a mixed bag of a bunch of players playing for a manager that aren't necessarily what he wants. Even Dejuma, who came in January, he's played 10 minutes We brought him in and we sold or we put out on loan other forwards and brought in another forward. They didn't even ask Conte if he liked him or not. He said in an interview, "I feel sorry for Danjuma. He's not going to play for me." Like, I mean, this is the management at the top. This is the difference between. There's no vision, right? The guy at the top is supposed to say, "Here's the vision of the club. Here's what we're going to do. We're going to bring in a young manager. We're going to bring in a winning manager. Whatever it is, we're going to pay for the things they need. It's a 5-year project, or it's a 1 to 2 year. We want to win a cup, or we want to get to a point where we're competing at the top for trophies on a regular basis. Which one is it? It's been just scattergun. It was initially Poch. It worked really well. Didn't back him when he should have been backed, and then brought in two in a row minus what's his name from Wolves. And two winning managers, and those have not worked because we don't have.
And yet the silver lining to all this, because amazingly, there's this incredible silver lining. You're still in fourth.
Yeah,
you are still a team that has routinely over the past 5 years competed to be in fourth or finished in the top four, and that's kind of what a lot of the teams that are not owned by nation states are going to be qualified as successful seasons moving forward. And you have transitioned successfully from a club that was, 8th to 6th was maybe where Tottenham could be staying. You are now upper echelon, consistently top 4 team.
But that's not true, Paul, because before Conte came in, it was actually 6th and 8th that we finished the 2 seasons prior. So
but you were competing for 4. Like, you may not have finished in the top 4, but you were competing in 4.
My point being is Poch got us to that point of that what you were saying and being in that position, and then it dwindled when we tried to throw in these like winning managers, and it was a totally different concept of how it's going to work, and that's failed. And of course Conte did a great job in getting us into 4th last season, and potentially is partially responsible if we get in this season. But there's no vision from the top saying this is the club we want to be. You guys have it at United as a good example in what you've done with your management and the structure and the expectation of all the club being behind the manager and let the manager do what he's supposed to do. Yeah, but the concept's there, and it's obvious, and we can all see it. Everybody is another fan is going, "Oh, United are doing what they should have tried to do or been trying to do for ages, and have finally got it right." We're just throwing, "Oh, let's get a winning manager or a winning manager who used to win, and see if they can get us a trophy, because that's what we want."
I'm just shocked Conte would have come to Spurs without having control over transfers, and I've heard you say this multiple times, and I'm not close enough to know. But, like, remember when they were making all those big signings in the summer? Like, Brian, do you have it on good authority? Like, you're the pulse on Spurs here, that none of these were Conte signings? Like, some
of them were, some of them weren't. And that was the problem.
And is that all Levy? Like, who was making the football choices? Because when you bring in pedigree like him, we had the same problem with Mourinho with Ed Woodward, right? Like, Ed Woodward was like, "Oh, this guy will make his money and sell shirts. Bring him in." And Mourinho was like, "I don't want that guy." So is that what's been happening like the last little
There's
while?
a bit more to it than that. So Paratici was coming. He's a director of football. And, of course, we all know his own problems with what's going on in Italy. I don't even know if he's going to be able to work for Spurs. There's rumors now he might be going as well. But he was supposed to be the line between Conte and Levy and manage that situation. And, of course, Levy, who Levy is, did not want to let go of certain investments. And some of those investments were buying younger players to sell on later, which is something we've always done, like a Jed Spence, for instance. And of course, he did that. Of course, he doesn't get to play, and we loan him out. We loan him out and don't use him because Conte doesn't want him. So you're getting, again, a fractured squad that aren't the players that he's asking for, that aren't necessarily going to work in the system that he's very rigid with. And if he's going to be that rigid with that system and not allow the team to play maybe a little bit looser, a little bit the way they might want to play with the players that are around them, you end up where we are now, which is like stale, crap, shit football to watch. Of course, I think we've won enough to get ourselves to this position, but it's terrible.
Where do we go from here? Like, you know what I mean? Like I don't know if you're going there, Luke, but like if you're a Spurs fan, where do you go from here? Like, Brian, do you want Conte gone tomorrow? Who comes in? Like, Paul's right, man. Top 4
is gone tomorrow.
like where do they go from here?
Are you asking me or Luke?
Yeah, you.
So where they go from here? I mean, this is the question. Ryan Mason is likely going to take over for now. I don't know if there's going to a manager. I know it's ridiculous, right? I don't know if a manager will come in that will want to come in for the rest of the season. They may want to wait and see what happens and then decide in the summer, which you could understand if you're any elite manager. Most of these managers that are available are taking Conte's words and going, well, maybe I don't necessarily want to do this either if this is how it's run. And so you would expect that if you're looking at the previous 3 managers, 4 really, that have come to Spurs, it's failed, and it's failed for a very specific reason, and that's because of who's up top is not doing the job in order to back the managers that need to be backed. Not saying that they're not spending money, because they're spending money. They're just doing it very poorly for what we need with the players.
I think it's very simple. It's simple. It's like, can't he just shut up? Aha, there you go. Let's get off this topic.
So, you know who you might want to consider as your next manager? Just saying, he's available. His name is Patrick Vieira.
Oh God!
Like seriously, this is like, and a big shout out to everyone's favorite doom and gloomer.
Well, let's say what happened first, and then you can talk about it. Crystal Palace have fired Patrick Vieira. Nobody's surprised. He was next up on the list. Get out of here. Pop. Terrible. But Roy Hodgson coming back is not been well received by the majority of Crystal Palace that we have line of sight to. We certainly know at least one Crystal Palace fan who is convinced that they'll be playing with Wrexham in the next couple of seasons, and that's the trajectory that they're on. And forget about the Premier League.
Hold on a second. Hold on. We should comment that.
Also, Dave, I don't want to know if you know this, but you cannot say a point without saying, "Hold on a second." What?
I love it.
I think it's important. It's important.
Hold
to
on.
know, it's important to know he's only back for the remainder of this season. Like
That's
not,
because that's his lifespan. What are you talking
he's
about?
going to be
he's not
dead
gonna
in
lie,
8 weeks.
that's
It's like Biden's only here for the remaining 6 months. That's because look at the guy. He's talking about stroking
will
hairs.
he be the oldest manager in Premier League history? He's 75.
He was retired. Just stay retired.
He
fella.
literally was in the halfway in the ground, and he's like, "Wait, Crystal Palace needs somebody. I'm back."
Do you know what, Joe? Like
Zombied.
small joke, but honestly, would you or would you not sign up to a subscription service that had a show where Roy Hodgson and Joe Biden were living in an apartment together? Because I would. That would be hilarious. That would be funny.
That would be
Ooh,
all right.
Here's my real question. We just have to like speculate here, and this is just us being fans. But if you were Crystal Palace and you needed to survive, who would you bring in now that Sean Dyche is gone?
Big Sam.
Ooh.
I would probably stick with their under 21 coach who came in and like for the last game. I mean, he's done really well. He's a club legend. He's younger. He's probably got progressive ideas. Like I think he's probably better than Hodgson in this scenario. I mean, I don't know him well enough. Stan spoke highly of him when I was chatting with him in our chat. He said he was a good player for the club. He's been doing well with the under 21s, so he's used to younger players. I mean, for me, like he can't do worse than
roll the
Hodgson.
dice.
Yeah. But I don't know anybody else who
I don't think it's really like they're going to finish between like 10th and 14th. They're nowhere near.
They are near it though. But they are. It's a 4-point difference from 12th to 20th or something.
In defense to Crystal Palace.
The record is.
We just lost Roy, guys. His life expectancy's over.
Dead.
And
That is awesome.
in defense of the
What just
Palace
happened?
ownership, like I like Vieira started off well, but they hadn't scored any goals. He clearly kind of lost the dressing room. I mean, obviously this isn't a long-term thing. I mean, is it a good appointment? No.
I don't agree with this. I really don't. I think this chop. It's like realistically, who the do Crystal Palace think they are? Right? They're a better team when they're Richmond FC. So let's really be honest here. Like there's not a whole lot that's going on. As Stan said, they've been going nowhere. The fact that they're still in the Premier League really is kind of shocking. Like they're kind of part of the centrifuge. And so let me just when I was going back and forth with Stan, because obviously we all just love poking that bear. Let me just read out their next couple of games. Right, Leicester, Leeds, Crystal Palace, Everton, Wolves, West Ham. That's
Well,
six
Crystal
games.
Palace are playing
they can't
themselves.
play themselves.
Crystal Palace are playing.
Oh, sorry. West Ham, Wolves, Southampton, Everton, Leeds. Yeah, but basically they've all the teams
around
Pick
them.
up, yeah,
all
they
the
could be picking up
Nottingham
points.
Forest. Like this, they've got no hard games coming. They've got a really easy
Luke,
game.
those are
on the
all hard
6th
games.
with
Those are all
Tottenham,
teams.
so-
Those are all teams that are right next to them in the race for it. It's
I know,
The suggestion that they're going to be easy because they're at the bottom of the table.
No, but it's
27 points in
it's not.
12th, 27
You know,
points in
but-
12th to 23 points in 20th. There's 4 points difference between 12th and
No,
20th.
I get
And if
that.
you're
but
playing
one-
all of those teams, you could end up in the bottom if you can't get any points.
You
very
could,
quick.
but if you pick up 3 points against a team, one of those, that means that's 3 points that they're not
They
getting.
haven't
So
won a game in 2023.
No, I know, but I've watched the game.
I'm with Stan. I think Stan's right.
Oh
I
man,
understand what you're saying, man, but it's like the
I think they're going
numbers
down.
don't lie, and
No,
apparently
but the numbers don't lie. But I don't know. I from what I've seen, they make opportunities, and I think if they'd stuck with Vieira, they would have worked it out. And I'm sorry, but if you cannot, there's no way that you're saying, or any of you are saying, that Roy Hodgson is a better suggestion.
Oh no, I'm not saying
no,
that.
to
I
your
don't think he should have
point.
been sacked.
But to
But
your
I'm
Well,
just
this
saying,
is the option now. This is
I'm
where
just
it
saying
is.
I could
So-
see them going down with either manager.
Brian,
Like,
it's
I don't.
not
I just
even
think they're
about
in a
that.
difficult.
Not even about
situation. I
that.
can't go
Apparently, it came out the other day when Vieira came out, and they were doing one of the games. Rumors were that there was some tension between him and the players in the dressing room. So they probably asked around and talked to the players, talked to management, people around the first team. It wasn't going to get better. So apparently, like, they were listening and training. There was a couple of things going on, some tension. It might have been one of those things where that was the tipping point to say, well,
Yeah.
maybe he could. But when you lose the room, you've lost the room.
Yeah,
It's
it's
time to
kinda
go.
over.
Just pull a Conte and you just like you
Yeah.
drop. You just like I'm out. I'm done.
And we all know what Vieira is like. He's not putting up with any nonsense.
Yeah, and he wasn't
Yeah,
starting some of the younger players who are potentially could score goals. He was making some odd decisions, and I'm guessing that was partially due to what you're saying.
Steven Gerrard.
Tony. There
And
was
I just
definitely a
wanna-
disconnect in the dressing room for sure.
I will interject with some stats because I don't want any Crystal Palace fans out there to be like, we don't know what we're talking about. But like, they haven't been making chances. They are some of the worst stats for shot creations, for shots, for goals. Like, the eye test might suggest that when you see the lineup, you're like, oh, these guys should be like good. But like, in the actuality, the last 11 games they've played, they've been dog shit. Like,
Terrible.
they're not creating anything from anywhere. There's just nothing working. And maybe they're not listening to Vieira anymore. And maybe this is like more about not Roy coming in as a manager, but more Patrick moving on, because it's so bad that the situation required somebody to lose their job over that kick in the ass that can give players. But
They're going to get the
Crystal
old
Palace-
manager bounce now. The old manager bounce.
This is like that desperate.
I think
move.
he's run his dice on that
chance.
one. He might be out of his new manager bounce.
No, the
syndrome.
old manager bounce. I said old manager bounce, not the new manager.
Fuck,
Yeah.
he bounced that manager once.
Does-
His
Spurs are
whole
looking
head's
for a
broken.
pot.
Does anybody here feel like at this point in the season, this is the trajectory they need to be on to be relegated?
No.
Does anybody feel
Oh,
like
yeah.
this
Yeah.
bottom
This-
three
this
that
I
we're
could
think
be
looking
they're
at
going
right now?
down. I honestly think they're going down. I really do.
Palace?
Yep.
No.
So
man.
then, Brian, I'm going to put you a little bit on the spot. If they're going down, who is your going down with them? Who are the three that you think are going down now based on Crystal
Yeah, we're
Palace?
going
being
I'm
down.
going to
down?
go
Bournemouth.
Southampton, Palace, and Bournemouth.
Okay.
Yeah.
So
It'll be tight, but
David
I-
Moyes escapes by the skin of his
So
teeth.
hold on. Palace is going to drop 6 spots to go down.
4 points between
I
12
know, but
points.
it's
no,
spots.
forget
That's
about
how
the
close
spots.
it is.
Yeah.
Forget about the spots. It's 4 points. They haven't won this year. They've
Oh, it
scored
really
one
is.
goal.
Does anybody
Yeah,
else think
terrible.
that Crystal Palace are going to be destined for the drop, or does anybody else feel like I kind of have a
No.
problem with the idea of Crystal Palace going down because I'm just so used to them being a Premier League team?
I said
I
Nottingham
think-
Forest 4 weeks ago when you all laughed at me. You're like, they're like 9 points clear. Guess what?
yeah,
Nottingham
but you had
Forest
shit on your face, and that's why we were laughing.
Dude, I always have shit on my face. Like, I
That's
think it's
true.
Forest, Southampton, and Bournemouth.
Okay, so Crystal Palace for you, avoid the drop.
Stand up. Royal, keep them up.
I think
Liam thinks it's the drop.
I think they're going to be really tight, and I think that point, that tightness at the bottom is an issue. But I don't think Bournemouth have enough. Southampton, I don't know. Leicester, I think have enough. I think Leicester are doing enough. Everton, I think are going to survive. I think they're playing much better.
Where is that coming from?
Who? What? Everton?
Everton. Like we all said 4 weeks ago, they were
Sean
dead and
Dyche
dusted.
effect for sure.
He
Yeah.
is, wow, what a
Done a
job.
good job.
Dude,
What a
you know what's
job.
incredible? You know what's a testament to this league? Between 12th and 20th, there's 4 points. In 11,
It's
Connie, I've
insane.
said that like 6 times already today.
So is he.
I love that we're all like the Sean Dyche effect.
Wait,
is so
wait,
amazing.
wait.
They had 2 draws and 1 win, and they've lost 3 games since he's been in charge. Like they haven't exactly been. Everybody is so bad.
Yeah,
When
it's
you get
true.
to 11th spot in the league on down, everybody is so garbage that all it takes is for one team to win 2 games, and they're
I
going to
think
be
it'll be
miles
11th
ahead of
spot.
everyone.
You guys heard that, right? That you guys were included on that.
no, Villa is in 11th, and they are 11
No, that's
points
why I said it.
clear of 12th, which
Yeah.
that gap
We're
between
flying.
11th and 12 is massive.
It's huge.
Just FYI, if
Chelsea
anyone
with the
doesn't
same
know,
points.
Since Unai Emery came in, Villa would be ranked second in the Premier League based on
Yeah,
our
you're doing
results.
well.
Since
He's been brilliant.
we
He's
are
right there.
flying, mate. And actually, just Brian, to your point, I think what you want in Tottenham is actually, and I cannot believe I'm going to say this, what we have at Villa. We really seem to have, and I think JPO, we seem to have a management that very much are letting it work. The project at Villa, I think, is very smart, and I think it's far bigger. They see a very established club with a massive fan base. They see a stadium that is in desperate need of, or a real ability to modernize. And the area of Aston, let me tell you, someone who grew up in Birmingham, is absolutely it's a shithole. And I'm sorry, I've got loads of friends from Aston. It is a dump, right? And it's needed a regeneration. Like Ozzy Osbourne grew up in Aston. Read his autobiography, and it's incredible how bad it hasn't changed in 40, 50 years. So the Birmingham Council,
Crystal Palace to
He made it feel like it made
it
sense.
happen. I
I
have
made
to
it
know.
over with Villa because somebody said 11th.
I want
I
to.
don't know.
Like,
You always have this unique ability to turn any little
oh,
team
dude.
into a full Villa brand. And you know,
Guys, I know we're talking
But
about
hold
Harry
on,
Kane, but
but
let
hold
me
on,
tell you about
David.
He
Cameron
wasn't
Archer
even talking
from
about the
Villa.
club at one point. He was talking about Birmingham, the city.
I love it.
yeah.
Hold on.
I just-
He's,
I'm
gonna
he's,
go
a
from
travel, he's a
United
travel guy right now.
to
He's
West
he's
Ham to
jet
Villa
setter.
by colors. We're
no.
gonna make it happen.
Yeah, I do have an Airbnb there, so if anyone's going, it's a beautiful coin too.
Oh, Rain is
I bet you're
So that,
great
that
on
Aston
colors.
Villa table he's talking about is based on the amount of time since he took over, which means they played 2 more games than everybody else that's in the table. So let's
Correct.
not get too excited
And I
about
think we're in third, not in
finishing.
second.
They've
Yeah.
done good. They've done good.
We're tied second.
That's
Hey, you have the third hottest striker in the league right now, and
Yes,
that's
they do.
nothing to like. To
But
not
he
cry
still
about.
can't get an England call up. But Calvin Phillips can, who's played fucking 50 minutes.
But let's
Suck
talk
on this
about
guy.
Ivan Toney.
We're not talking about
again,
England.
Calvin
Yeah.
Phillips is not a striker, so my segue about strikers
you
got
don't
ruined
know
by
what
you
strikers
bringing
talk
up
about.
Calvin Phillips out of nowhere.
Yeah.
Thanks for that,
Such a
JP.
JP
It
thing.
was more of an anti-Southgate one, but I'll take
Ivan Toney is in the news right now for all the good reasons and all the bad reasons, all kind of mixed up together. A guy who racially abused him online has just been banned from all Premier League stadiums and English stadiums for the
Good.
next 3 years.
That's
That was
not long enough.
Should
a
be for
justice that occurred
Should've been.
for Ivan Toney. He is obviously going to be going through some legal shit right now with the league because of his betting. You would think that would be a dark cloud that passes over him and his reputation, but no, seemingly it's not so dark that he doesn't get called up to the England national team where he is now training and rubbing elbows with
isn't it?
a lot of guys. When you see him training these photos and he's beside Chelsea players and Man United players
tips.
and just like the guys that he should be playing with if this betting scandal doesn't weigh him down. My question is he the real deal for all this top 4, top 6 hype where he should be playing with these teams? Or is he a guy who's very good on a team that struggles? He's got 16 goals out of 25 starts. He takes a lot of penalties. He takes penalties very well. He seems like he's very good at a lot of different aspects of a striker's game. Hold-up play is strong. He's aggressive. Ivan Toney plays for Brentford. They play a certain high-pressing style. Is he better than people are giving him credit for? Is he also the flip to that? Is he maybe overrated for some reason? Like, where do you guys stand on Ivan Toney as a player and his quality?
Man.
I think it's
How many PK goals does he have?
What?
Like, out of how many penalty kicks, whatever you want to call it, how many
Christ.
penalty kicks has he scored? PKs.
PK goals. He's so American. It
not
makes
hockey.
me
How
sick
many
sometimes.
PK goals has he scored compared to his overall goal tally? Like, are we talking 12 of his 16? Are
No,
it's
probably about
PKs?
6, I think.
It's
Somewhere-
about 6 or 7. It's a lot, JB.
It is a lot.
That is quite a lot.
Yeah, but a lot of top scoring strikers score penalties. It's not.
It's part of,
Yeah,
it's
I
part
was
of
gonna
being
say,
your-
if
part
you
of being
take
a
those
goal
out,
scorer,
he
the
still
goal
scored.
Move
12
on
goals,
from the
which is a good
conversation
number.
about penalties until somebody comes up with the answer
okay,
to
it's
the
a
question
really-
you just threw out to the group. Like, we're going to know the answer casually.
Maybe somebody
Well,
did.
I
you were
will
talking
find
about
it for you, but move on from the point.
Okay, so it's a really simple point. Very simple. And whoever wants to pick up, this is where it is. The top 4 teams and the ones who are running for top 4. Does he offer anything to them? He doesn't. I don't think Arsenal use him. I don't think City use him.
I think
I
Chelsea
don't
would be
think
the only
United
team
use
he'd
it.
be perfect at.
Tottenham will when Kane's gone next year.
I don't think he replaces Kane.
That's
by
an
any
issue.
means.
Well, he could. Why he wouldn't be a bad one? I think the answer is we don't know, right? Like it looks like he's got the potential to do it, but it's different doing it on Brentford than doing it on like a Spurs, and it's that elevation. The spotlight is on you. There's going to be a fee attached to your name. I don't know. From what I've seen, I'd lean more towards no than yes, but I wouldn't be
JP,
surprised.
he has 5 penalties and 11 non-penalty goals of the 16
In a
goals.
pretty-
he
That's
scored
still
in the
a
Premier League.
really good number.
In a pretty
He's
good,
great in the air. He's
Brentford
great
team.
in the
He is
air.
good
Like
in
he's
the air.
really good. He's a good player.
Well, let's
I
do
think,
this.
I, think,
Let's do
I think a team like Chelsea could use him because they're looking for like a very particular 9, like a
That is
9
the
who's going to
only
be on
one.
the end of all they create, and they create a ton.
What
And
about a
they've got-
hypothetical?
sorry,
A hypothetical, Brian. Like if
Yeah.
Kane left, and I don't think Kane's going to leave.
no,
But let's
not
say
Tony for me.
Let's say he did, and you guys signed Ivan Tony. How would you feel about it?
I'd be
Let's talk.
disappointed. I'd say there's lack of ambition in that signing. I think he works in certain squads. I think the reason I say Chelsea, and I recognize Chelsea are a bigger club than us when it comes to recently and what they've won, but I think
But what do
they're
they need?
desperate for that specific 9. Like
Yeah,
that is
100%.
Yeah.
would suit their system, and he is that. Whereas
Yeah.
for us, Kane plays a 10, he drops deep, and like he doesn't replace that type
Yeah.
of player. So
I think it's
he
it's a
works in the
Moneyball
Chelsea side, doesn't
solution.
work in the Spurs side.
Ooh, Brian, I don't think
think-
you're going to find anybody who can replace Harry Kane for his
No.
ability.
I
to be
agree,
a
but
10
You
and
will
a 9.
never find
But
anybody.
you need 2 players to replace him. You need a good, maybe an Ivan Toney with a James Madison. If we did that at the same time,
Right. So
I might
let's
be okay with
assume that whatever this transition is, not one player is going to fix everything that you lose from Harry Kane.
I don't
Just
think
say-
I don't think he's a top 6 forward for me.
There it is.
He does
I
lead.
think-
He
I know-
is second in the league to expected goals against.
Yeah, you like him, Paul, don't you?
I think he's great.
Yeah.
Honestly, like he plays on a team that does create a lot of opportunities. It is Brentford. You wouldn't think that there would be a lot of opportunities to go his way, but he has a lot of dynamic relationships with the players around him. They're a very skillful team. They're a hardworking team, but he always seems to be making the right runs. He's a fox in the box. He's deadly with his head. He is so good at being that pressure valve of controlling the ball and giving his team a chance to do a fast break because he can distribute the ball really well as well. He is a very good striker. And if it wasn't for the betting, I would be all about it. I would have no problem with him going to Man United, my team, and improving our striker option because he does like right away improve the striker options at Man United. We don't
So
really have a
having said all that, does anybody know? I don't know. I want to just come out clear. I know there are some charges and a lot of charges. Does anybody know the update on that? Like, is this look
No.
really bad for him?
It's
or,
investigation.
Yeah,
I-
it's
I
quiet.
think
It's not illegal what he's done. It's just it's against the rules of the FA. So he's not
I
going to
think
go
it's
to
a
jail.
But
it's a really messy one.
It's going to be a lengthy suspension and a guy who is questionable character to break the rules to that extent, where it wasn't one time but 200 times. Can he handle the pressure of being at the highest stage? Can he handle the pressure with all the press being on him? You can get away with a lot of shit in Brentford because nobody's coming to your door to watch what you're doing.
Yeah,
Like
fair
there's a character flaw that's inherent to 200 incidences of something that won't put you in jail, but could have him banned for 6 months.
I'm intrigued. How does this happen to this level? And I think if I was his legal team, right,
I was never caught.
Well, this is surely going to be the argument because if I break the law once, that's bad. If I break a law 200 or 300 times, there's obviously something I wasn't aware of, or like, and there's no way he's that arrogant that he just was like, I'm just going to keep doing this, and it's
I
not
just
gonna
don't think
bite
he's
me.
that smart.
It depends on the law. We've all walked across your street 200 times, even though you're not supposed to. Sometimes, like he might have
I've
thought
never.
he might have thought this isn't a big deal and no one's going to care.
No.
Clearly not.
I'll tell you what I have done is I do make the sound of a scanning till at Whole Foods. I'll put my hands up. I'm not paying $15 for cheese, but that's we all have our things. Yeah,
Luke, I wanted to look up the name just so I didn't misquote this because you do raise an interesting question. Talk Sport host Danny Murphy, former Fulham player, I
Fulham,
believe,
And Liverpool.
love Danny Murphy.
Yeah,
actually is quoted as saying he didn't know you weren't allowed to gamble when he was in the Premier League. Nobody specifically sat them down and said, you cannot do this. So his argument or defense was maybe he didn't know because I didn't know.
I mean, I felt like I had heard that you couldn't do that, but if they never get sat down, that's
I think it's a fairly easy thing for young kids to miss. Like,
Yeah,
also,
for
like,
sure.
say you're 18 or 19. What is the mixed message you're getting? You've got Sporting Bet on your jersey. You're going to Sporting Bet launch parties. You got Sporting Bet night events. You got glad handing with the Sporting Event executives. You have a phone. It's an app. You put some money down on your team to win for you to score. Like, unless, again, yes, against the rules, but I think there is an argument to some extent about ignorance being like a justifiable thing to protect.
And I think
his
that's what
character.
it is for sure. I think
It
it is.
could
I
be.
think he just didn't know any better.
It could be, but I think that's where the investigation really has to come to light, because if he was betting on things that, I mean, obviously, if you bet on missing a penalty, like you're Pete Rose all of a sudden, like you're in the bracket of
sure.
you're betting in a way that sullies the game.
Yeah.
You know what? I'd have no issue. Like, is if the rule was in place where you just couldn't bet on your own games, I think that'd be fine. Like, and I don't know if that's what's going on. There's so much money.
But even if you bet on your own games, even if you like, wouldn't if you bet to win?
Yeah,
like,
that's a good point. Yeah,
like you're trying to win.
you're kind of betting on yourself, right? You're like, I'm
Yeah.
a striker. I'm gonna get a brace today, right?
Yeah. Like,
When-
what's the
when we
difference
also
between that
say-
and like a building a bonus system into your pay?
Yeah. When we also say like, hey, this is going to kind of tarnish him a little bit and might put some top teams off. I mean, I don't actually think it will, because
That's where I sit though,
teams.
JP. Like I even as a fan, I'm like, I don't know how comfortable I am having this guy wear my team's crest.
But
if
that's just
this
it. We
guy
as
actually did.
fans might feel a little bit, but I mean, there is shit every day coming out. What was it? Kyle Walker was flashing his ding dong at people and grinding up against women.
Yeah,
with his
but
penis out.
if
Jack
he had done
Grealish
that
got
before,
DUIs.
if he had done that before,
I mean, you got your famous guy at Man United. I know you guys would like him out, but the club hasn't even kicked him out yet. Like,
Who?
the fucking
Greenwood.
Greenwood.
Yeah.
I know, but no, hang on. But like, this is like for me. I don't know. As a fan, I'm really not bothered by this. If they threw out the like, there's one part of we should pay. I really don't care that he was. As Paul said, if he made a bet on me missing a penalty kick in a game I'm playing, okay, that's problematic.
Yeah.
But like
That's
general
tactics,
betting,
right?
I really don't care. Like I honestly
me neither.
don't care.
It's a
There's
bunch of
so
old
many bigger
guys.
things.
especially if it's like
making these
lower
decisions,
leagues.
you know?
He's not even a part of it, and he's just like, I'm gonna go bet on my local,
Right.
Division
Yeah.
2
Right.
team, like whatever.
I mean, I guess I'll put this in a combination of you've got guys like Brian who don't think he's top 6 caliber.
Right.
And then you've got guys like me who would be nervous about this character issue that's come about with his betting. Both those things, when they're working together, are maybe enough for top 6 teams to be like, like, you know
Not
what I mean?
worth
It
the
wasn't
risk.
like he's got 3 seasons of scoring 20 goals a season. He's got one really good season. And I think most Premier League clubs might be smart enough to know, like, that doesn't necessarily mean you're going to be a regular top 6. Denver Boss scored 25
He
once.
tore
like,
it up in the championship, though. I think he had like almost 30 goals as well. He's a goal.
yeah, but again, there are going to be guys like Brian who have seen him,
Yeah.
see his quality, and they're still like, I don't know if he's top 6.
Yeah.
I think those two things, I think he's definitely hurt his chances to going to a top club, like a top 6 club, big payday club
It depends.
with this betting
Which
scandal.
means Chelsea will only spend 80 mil on him instead of 100.
it's perfect
That's
for
what we're
Chelsea,
saying.
really.
He's gonna be great. Like they're gonna
Oh, he signed
spend
for
a lot
Chelsea
of money.
3 years
Eric's
ago.
gonna say it's
He's perfect for
fine, and
Chelsea.
then he's gonna score 5 goals, and Eric's gonna say it's all his fault.
Are we
I
sure
think-
it's going to be a lengthy ban? Is there any way like they couldn't be like, hey,
have
he
no
didn't
idea.
know, yada yada yada. He's getting a 3 game.
I,
Well,
I
because
can't
I think
see with a
because-
sheer
Well,
quantity.
They'll bring it down,
200
but it won't
double
be. It
digits
won't
at
be as
least.
bad as. Yeah, it won't be as bad as like. Let's say the total amount of like. Let's say it should be 2 years. I think he'll serve 3 months. Like I don't see this.
I think it has to be at least like double digits games wise to actually make an impact. Like
Yeah,
10
it'll be
games, 12 games.
15. Yeah, it's going to be lengthy. It'll
Which,
be.
that's almost half a season. When you're getting up to
There's actually a
15.
lot of talk that it is in the best interest of Brentford right now to have the hammer come down now this season,
Yeah,
so that he could still
Play
get
next season.
involved into the next season's
Or
campaign,
bring a lot of money
because their
in the
league
summer.
position is so comfortable right now, and
Yeah.
or at least clarify what his situation is so they can sell him for big bucks.
How
Yeah.
long does an
But
investigation
even
like
even
this
Brentford
really take?
losing this because they're either going to lose a player for an extended period of time, or there's going to be a big knockoff his sell price. Because even if top 6 goes with this, they're going to look at it as being a gamble. So it's going to be one of those situations where Brentford are going to be pushed by Evan Toney, because if Chelsea come knocking, he's going to say they're offering 30. I know I should be worth 50, but sell me for 30. I got to go.
That
I
has
don't
to
think there'll be
like
a
month.
sale while this is there.
30
I
is
don't
low
think
for him.
How long has it been? A month or two? Like how long is this goddamn investigation?
Almost
been?
2 months.
Yeah, like what's the holdup?
What's
Can we?
up?
Can we?
It's 200 separate incidences.
Yeah, it's so much going on. There's a lot of it.
What's the difference between 100 and 2? Like he either did it or he didn't, right? Like
But like
Can
if he
we
did
actually
100,
find out-
his punishment will be different from if he did 200. Like how many of
Yeah.
those are actual he's guilty of?
Yeah, and
Get
what
tacked
level
into his
of
final
charges.
judgment. Yeah.
who knows?
Well,
I
on
know-
that
keep
note, I'm
arguing.
going to bounce. I got to get a few hours sleep before I go to work. So been a pleasure.
Brian Ireland, real fast.
Shoot.
I need your pick for the most underrated of the season. Underrated of the season.
My first pick,
Doesn't have to be a
for this-
player. Could be a team. Could be
No,
a coach.
it's a player, and I did a bit of digging because I wanted to be slightly educated on it. So my player is Fabian Schär from Newcastle, stalwart
that's a
defender,
good
Swiss defender. Came in $3 million from Deportivo in 2018. He's stayed with the teams since then, and he's still playing every game, and he's been very solid. So I think that their defense has been incredible, and he's been a massive part of it.
That has been an excellent pick by Brian Ireland, who's off to Betty Buys.
And our folks, have a good one. Cheers.
Bye-bye.
Cheers.
Make sure you set those clocks there, Bri, just in case, you know. Can we, as part of the fine for Tony, can we actually just, whatever he won on gambling, he gives to us, and we use it to buy JP California an actual goddamn chair? Because JP,
I know.
it is, what is happening? Like, are you
don't-
that
Oh.
huge now? Or like,
No.
what's
My
going
dog lays down right next to my chair while I'm potting, and if I want to adjust, I have to look down and like make sure I don't run over my fucking German Shepherd. Like I don't want to have him yelping. It would tear my heart
on?
up.
Fair play.
So-
Can I answer this, Paul?
Of course.
There is a number that absolutely, yeah, we'll do a Kickstarter for it. I think just because Brian said it, there's one or two others in my head. Dan Burn over at another centre back over at Newcastle. Dan Burn is an insanely cheap fantasy pick. Has been a 90-minute player for pretty much the whole season. Wasn't expected to start for them. Has been a phenomenal member of their back four. And at Newcastle have a number of players and a number of people that could go into the kind of most underrated. But I do like Notto as well, the young lad for Leeds. He's He's just been called up. He's just been called up into the international team for Italy as well. So he's in his first season in the Premier League.
Youngest Italian international to debut when he was 16.
Wow, what a player! He's really good, man. I think he is a top quality player.
He is.
I'm gonna throw one out there. I'm gonna go with my fellow American Tim Ream.
I'm afraid
who's
of
at
Americans.
Fulham. He's 35 and he's played 27 matches either at center back or left back. He's captained them like half the time, and he's just apparently Fulham fans are just all over him. Like he is playing out of his skin good, and like Americans are even saying, please give him a call up at 35 years old. And I'm like, well,
absolutely,
it's blowing my mind. I've seen a few of his highlights, and he just looks unreal for Fulham right now.
Good shout.
Yeah, that's a tough one. Fulham. There's so many players you could pick for underrated out of Fulham, but also they're kind of at this weird stage right now where are they underrated? Everybody kind of knows what they are now. Like they're.
They might be in trouble now, depending on this fine that Mitrovic is getting.
Everyone might be looking at Fulham, but I don't know if they necessarily look at individual players here and there. And a 35-year-old playing 27 games this season, that's huge. That's up there. That's a lot of numbers for a guy with like knees worse than mine.
That doesn't scratch the itch though. Like I'm in between two. I'm in between actually Ivan Toney and Paulinho from Fulham because I think he is.
Both of those guys have been talked about a lot though.
But would you call them underrated?
You call them like breakout. Yeah, that's just it. Are they underrated?
Like Ivan Toney, we just had this whole thing about like
and it's like the third time we've talked about him this season.
The argument was if he's underrated or not, and I think he might be. But I think Paulinho makes like an upper echelon team like above.
But we've talked about how good he is. You know, we've talked about like how talented he is, or Bruno Guimaraes. Like we have guys we've talked about, so we need to go.
Bruno's dropped off a little bit on Newcastle. Like he stopped that trajectory. Paulinho's been solid. I'm going Paulinho.
I'm gonna go with 6 goals, 3 assists. Brighton's Japanese superstar Matoma.
I love him.
Came out of nowhere.
Love him.
3 man of the match performances this season so far on a team that is doing so well because they can finally do what they were never able to do before, and that's score. And we had spent literally years talking about if only they could get a striker, if they could get a striker. This guy plays out on the left, and he's just doing the business for them. And he's so much fun to watch. I just love the guy.
I'm changing my pick from Polina just to the team Brighton in general. Brighton are my
Yeah.
pick.
I'm not
They are
mad at that.
phenomenal, man. Like we were all like, oh, they lost Potter. They're going to be garbage. They're arguably better. They're really good.
Well, we should go the manager then. Is it Zerbi? Roberto De Zerbi?
Zebri?
Yeah, how do you even say his name?
Zebri, I think.
Is it?
I'm
It's
going to point
ZERBI.
out, true to Man United fandom forum, Dave Convery picks the guys who are about to play in the FA Cup as like this underrated
I
good
know.
team.
I'm very concerned about it. I'm being serious. Like,
Well, you should be. They're very good.
Yeah.
Danny Welbeck has got a knock us out of a cup goal in him.
I mean, there's a guy you could do for most underrated of the season. Danny Welbeck. Like, not everyone's singing his tales, but he has done very well for how old he is and how he's leading the line for him and doing
I was
well.
about to say him, but I looked at his numbers and his numbers aren't great. But he has been a good player for them.
But he's played.
You know what? I'm gonna go back to the manager. I was just looking at his actual like kind of like managerial. He came from he did 1 year at Shakhtar, and then they picked him up to replace, and he's flying. And before that, he was at Sassuolo, which are Serie A.
Yeah,
I don't know if they're Serie A, but yeah, kind of he's got an interesting kind of background, but nothing crazy. And this is like the way they play under him is he like, and he doesn't take any shit either. That's why Trossard went. He was like, "I'm dropping you. Like I don't care how good you are. You don't talk back to me." And I like that. Like he's stamping his authority on that team. So
I'm gonna finish up with my second pick for most underrated because it was problematic, and this is gonna be like a universally agreed to pick. Should have been my first pick because I could have got everybody's head nodding. Ollie Watkins, since Unai Emery came to Aston Villa, is one of the most potent strikers in the Premier League. Cannot get into the English national team for whatever reason. Not that I care. I don't think that's an actual gauge of talent or ability, but I think he goes under the radar too much in terms of conversation about really good strikers. You don't talk about his age and his profile and where his ceiling is. It's still in development. Nobody knows yet. And I think he's only had maybe a matter of months now under a really top class manager. He wasn't going to do it under Steven Gerrard. That was a shit show of an experiment. So now that they've got somebody who seems to know what he does best and plays to his strengths, his development has been, where does this train stop kind of stuff. So I think for me, I'm going to put him in the, I'm not going to put him as my number one, but I'm going to put him definitely as like a very close second for my most underrated player.
Before you jump in, JP, like he kind of makes me think a little bit of the Ivan Toney argument, and it's not a knock on Villa. Villa are playing so well, but if you put him in one of the upper echelon teams, like could he tear it up? Could he get like 15, 20 Premier League goals this season?
He can get 15. He's gotten it, but I don't know if he can get 20. He works super hard. I mean, nobody runs more than he does.
He can finish, man.
But here's the crazy thing is he literally went from Exeter City, who's like just barely in the league.
Is that not Exeter?
Is it Exeter? I don't know. Exeter City. Brentford, where he played left wing, and Brentford finally moved him to a striker in their final season with him. Then we spent $35 million for him and put him as a striker for Villa, and he's doing well. But like he wasn't even a striker for half his career.
Are we the Ted Lasso of football podcasts?
I just can't. JP, it's so annoying because JP, you clearly know. JP knows soccer. He knows football. He knows it. Like he coaches it. He does know his stuff. But every time he opens his mouth, I die a little inside. I'm like, oh, JP.
But you know what? You wouldn't have him any other way.
No, I love you, JP. You
guys have a billion clubs. I can't pronounce them all. They're all Manchester.
Maybe just one or two. Maybe just the main ones that you're about to talk about. Like
Aston
Google
Villa.
it. Use YouTube. Like I don't know. Like simple. God damn it. Yeah.
JP, man, in solidarity, buddy. These people are being assholes to you. I don't know where they get off. Like you can mispronounce a name and just move on.
Not that Luke. Oh my God.
They don't have to have 5 minutes of segues battering you.
Can we
I'm
do
not I just understand the.
Can we do the
it's called grammar, JP. You're a teacher. Like it's the bare minimum expectation.
Can we check in with everybody on the title race? So we're looking at 8 points with a game in hand for City.
Arsenal. It's
really. You've locked
it's Arsenal, man. They're playing with such confidence. The worry with Arsenal for me was always the age, right? It's a very young squad, and they are looking so confident, and they're all playing. Although I will say they did just lose Tomiyasu for the season. I don't know if you've seen that. And he's a decent rotation player if they pick up 1 or 2 injuries. But as of right now, I think any little bits of injuries they had are gone. But yeah, they, like Saka. I've never thought Saka was that good of a player. I've always rated him. But he just, I don't know how. Like, I even watch him, I'm like, I don't see it even when he plays. But he's fantastic. And that Trossard signing, like, what an incredible add to the team that was. Yeah, I think City are going to keep picking up points, but I don't see Arsenal. Like, the points that I thought they dropped, they haven't. And I think they're going to go the whole way. I really do.
What do you think?
The only way City has a chance for me is if they beat them coming up here next month. That's the only thing that gets them even near it. And I still don't know if it's enough. I really actually do hope Arsenal win the title. Me saying that's probably going to make them lose it. But I hope they do win it because I'm just so over City. I want the fucking book thrown at them for breaking the rules, and I want them to lose.
Paul?
Did you guys happen to catch Ivan Toney's quote on the weekend about Arsenal?
No.
I think he might be quietly a really fun guy as well, by the way, because some of his quotes are just like, he gets it.
Tony is.
He was like very dead set, straight face. He's like, yeah, no, hopefully we can catch Arsenal. And then the reporter's like, you could catch Arsenal? Yeah, hopefully,
I'm with JP. I think everything hinges on that one game. I think if City win that game,
it could just throw them off.
It could just tilt it in the other way. But man, I'm shocked how resilient Arsenal have been till now. And now they've got me thinking they could pull this off.
They're out of the Europa.
Yeah.
And which is very good for their chances to focus on the league. I think there comes a point in the season where Man City do naturally start focusing on where they're at in the Champions League and what their chances are in that tournament. And if they get knocked out, the blow that kind of has on the players. Every single time I think Arsenal are due to lose, and it's in game. It's like I'm watching them blow it. I'm watching them go down 2-0. I'm watching them have a terrible first half to a game. They find a way to come back to not just draw, but to win games. So as you're looking at the schedule week to week, they're not even slipping in these moments. So I think for me, I'm like 75% sure, and anything can happen. But for me to say 75, that's like as confident as I would get when they're just above Man City. And like whatever, man. Like it's good for the league. Arsenal fans are going to be fucking terrible about this. They're going to be so off their nut. They kind of earned the right to be it a little bit, but they're going to be pretty tactless about it, I think. But for me, it's better than having Man City win 3 straight. 3 straight Premier League titles to Man City would have been terrible. It's better than, for me, if Liverpool had won, I could not have handled that either. If there's a team that was going to win the Premier League that wasn't, those 2 teams, Chelsea and Arsenal are probably the only ones I could probably stomach as being, I'm kind of neutral about them. And Man United obviously are not ready yet and are not going to be ready for another couple of years. And Arsenal, I think, should give every team hope because the way that they built the squad to get to this position, 100%. Stick by your manager. Don't blow up when you lose big.
Don't go for the big name.
They've had their 6-0 maulings. They've had their Arteta out moments.
They were
little like Arsenal super fan that is on a Bleacher Report.
Troops. The one who's on
Troops. Yeah. Like guys like him who are like screaming Arteta out and who are going fucking crazy. Like I give that organization credit for blocking that out and just seeing what they're seeing as progress and getting the right pieces at the right time. And clearly by the signings they made, the players and the agents were aware of where they were at as well, because they landed certain players that they probably should not have been able to get. And it was one of those situations where they must have seen how they could improve that squad to get to this level. Fans, I think, are always maybe a season behind where a club actually is. Whereas the players, I think, they know the sport so well, they can kind of tell.
They did kind of a Liverpoolish with like their signings in the last 2 to 3 years.
Yeah,
like,
they did.
They've nailed them all, like Martinelli.
They're not getting the top level. They're getting the next level. Playing like top.
They've elevated into those players. Yeah, Jesus, Partey, he was injured all the time. He is, in my opinion, their most important player when he plays.
Odegaard.
Oh, well, Odegaard, yeah.
Who they signed him for?
so-
30?
I would argue
Odegaard's the most important player.
Zinchenko.
Yeah.
Xhaka is the biggest change. He was
Jack is the biggest change.
hated.
That
Oh,
one's
God.
blown my
Hated.
mind, man. If you told me a year ago that this is who Jacques would be in this team, I would have called you mentally unstable. It's
Yeah,
everything. I think Paul's got it. Like, you remember the Leicester season? It's almost like things go your way, and there
Yep.
hasn't been
The
much.
belief happens and it's over. It doesn't matter. You'll go through a wall
Yeah.
for each other and you do it. It's
Remember
amazing.
when Jesus got injured? We're all like, they're fucked. They're
Yeah.
fucked.
yeah.
They arguably got better. They
Who
did.
is the guy, the centre back that Leicester had, who really had no reason to be in a Premier. Wesley Morgan, was it Morgan?
Morgan, yeah, he was a captain.
That the
And
guy
it wasn't
I think
Robert
he was like-
Huth and Wesley Morgan?
oh mate, it was like that. If you look at their back
They were
four
awesome.
at one stage,
They
They were
it
awesome.
was frightening how kind of weak it should have been, and yet they were fantastic.
They were just
Yeah, it's-
monsters.
Jamie Vardy
the
being
best
an
one.
absolute monster as well.
Conte.
But yeah.
Mahrez, Conte.
Oh yeah.
I hope they
Oh,
lose.
Adebayor retired today, boys. Talking of Arsenal, did you see that? Adebayor finally announced his
Yeah,
retirement.
he's retired.
Did he?
Yeah, he was in.
I
he was
wasn't
in
even like he
Togo
was still
first.
playing. I was like, he's still alive.
Yeah,
He was in Togo. So yeah, he
Do you
was
remember the
playing.
celebration where he runs the length? of the
Yes.
field to
To
celebrate?
celebrate in front of the
Oh
Arsenal
my
fans.
God,
He got
that
a
was
$25,000 fine or pound fine for that.
Yeah.
Fantastic.
He was
That
something else.
shithousery is that's peak. That's Peter Crouch.
Hell of a player when he was at his peak, though. He
Yeah,
was
he was.
Shithousery.
Oh yeah.
All time.
the shithousery this year
You know
has
what?
been
We're
so
gonna
good.
introduce a bit next week because it's international break. We're gonna be scrounging for topics, anyways. Your favorite
Shithousery.
shithouse
Oh,
player
Bruno Fernandes.
all time? No, I'm not
Tyler
asking you this
Adams.
question right
Oh.
now.
Oh.
Dave, you have this real problem with me bringing up a question I'm going to ask down
Instant.
the road and going instant.
Instant.
Like Dave and I are talking about doing another show where we talk about like we rank top fives in movies or TV and stuff like that. And I'm like spitballing questions we could be doing as a topic every week. And he's got to answer the question every single time.
Because I got it all up here, baby.
When you've seen the
Put it on camera.
arches as Dave has in the last couple of when you've touched, you know, you haven't got time to mess around.
the gates,
Get it
the
out there.
pearly white gates.
Correct.
Exactly.
Okay, are we talking about of all time in the Premier League?
Yes.
Yeah.
Don't
I-
answer
I'm-
it.
I'm not
Don't
answering-
answer it.
I'm not asking. Well,
Okay, I got to think about
I
that.
don't even
sign
want
off.
to.
Let's get
That's
out of
why I
it.
don't give you previews of things because you're just going to blow it right now. It's just be like, whatever.
Don't change, Dave. Don't change.
Never will. Don't know how.
Beautiful.
But stay alive.
I mean, that's it. That's the game. Please, folks out there in the ethers of cyberspace, please
Thank
like
you,
and
Liam.
subscribe, comment, share.
Thank you,
Give us an
Liam.
idea of what questions you want us to answer, what opinions you want to answer. If you want to be on the show, by the way, we have a very accessible show. Reach out to us
Almost
on
too
social
accessible.
media. Throw up a comment here. You'll feel like you're doing us a favor, but really, we're making you into a star. Whatever.
It's
Can
how
we
I
have a
got here.
segment? Can we have a
We found
segment
JP
next
California. Look at him now.
week where like people send in a list
I don't
of
even work.
British teams and we get JP to pronounce them? I think that'd be a good
Oh
segment.
God,
That-
you could do
that
a
would-
5. Oh my God, that'd be so.
No, we
good.
Hey,
should just
JP
do
next
it. We
week.
should just
What
do
do
a
you mean there's a
YouTube video.
Sheffield Wednesday?
Oh God.
Yeah. How many teams are there?
Wait, you're telling me we're playing Sheffield Wednesday this Thursday?
Just that should be that's what we should end every segment. 5 teams that I have to pronounce around Europe and just have fun with it.
I'm going to next game. We're going to do it for sure. I'm going to put up 5 names of players up on
Oh.
screen,
Teams, players, and names. Yeah.
and you're going to say it, and that's going to be a.
Dude,
I'm just gonna say it now.
I could never say Mudryk.
ongoing
I wouldn't
bit.
say his name. I just say that guy with the M. And then they started saying his name for Chelsea. And I was like, okay, Mudryk, I'm good. I got this. I can say it now.
JP, your pronunciations of names
terrible.
is single-handedly keeping the United States soccer division down. You are single-handedly dooming the
on you.
nation of America. Yeah, it's literally, it's like, we're like, oh, maybe we should take him seriously. And you go, Leicestershire. Like,
Gabriel.
nope. Bye.
Gabriel.
Don't. Just
Meg
don't,
Halles.
JP. We like you.
Meg Halles.
Nice.
In
Good-
fairness
good.
to that question, everybody in the Prem and all the commentators just call him Gabriel.
that would have been the
How do you
correct
say his
answer.
last name.
I would have accepted him
You
just
don't
being
need to.
Gabriel because that's
Gabriel
the answer.
Meg Halles.
See,
All
that's
right.
what you should know being on a Premier League podcast. They just call him Gabriel.
Yeah. I had the full name. I went for it.
In fairness,
Like and
I have
subscribe,
seen
guys.
NBC's coverage, the coverage that the Americans have to watch here is absolutely atrocious. And
That's
the people
incorrect.
that
It's
Commentators in
actually,
America
actually
is the
not that
worst.
bad. They've got
No,
Brent on there, man.
Craig,
Taylor 12
just-
minutes the worst.
You don't
just
like the two
Google-
Robbies?
I do like the two Robbies. That's a
They're on
big
there most of
no,
the
but they're
time.
not American. Those are foreigners
No.
coming in.
That's
Go
why
watch
it's
Craig.
good.
No, it's not good. They've got
Let's end
Craig
this.
Burley.
Are you good? Are you
He's
shitting on
It's
Rebecca
done.
Lowe right now? Are you shitting on Rebecca Lowe?
I'm guessing you
I
like
like
her because she's
foreigners.
She's the
attractive.
host. She's knowledgeable about football. It's decent content.
Is she attractive?
I have no comment.
Oh well, there we go.
Bye.
There we go.
This is the North End. This is the North End.